Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.
Welcome to Getting to Know You. My name is Joe Nash. Today we're going to be talking to Star D'Angelo. She is the Executive Director of the Shaker Heritage Society site right over here near the airport. We're going to be talking about many things today. The ongoing revitalization and preservation that's always going on over there. The Christmas Crafts Fair that goes from October 27th through December 15th. It's open 6 days a week. And finally, we're going to be talking about the new virtual website, or the virtual Watervliet it's called, but we'll get to that. So welcome, Star. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
It sounds like there's a lot going on over there. Why don't we start with that? What's the latest? Sounds like you just got here. You said everything's,
Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of people think, oh, little sleepy historical societies, it's quiet, easy work. It never is. It's always a lot of activity, and Shaker Heritage Society has a lot going on right now. We just finished rehabilitating the roof of the 1856 drying house, which is a wonderful small little building that the county converted for use as a creamery, and that was just a fabulous project. And up next, we have plans to rehabilitate the roof of the 1916 Shaker Barn complex. And we have all the funds in place to do the design phase work to convert the manure shed into a bathroom, which everybody thinks is hysterical. Turn the manure shed into a bathroom, but it makes sense because it will enhance use of the site for large-scale public events and for things like weddings and that sort of thing. So we have this whole dimension of work on the buildings and stabilizing the buildings and doing as much as we can. And we're able to do that now for the first time in our history. I mean, the society was established in 1977. And Albany County has owned the church family portion of the Shaker Historic District since 1925. So we are tenants of the county, and we just got a long-term lease about 2 years ago. And so since we have a lease, we are eligible for grants to stabilize and restore the buildings. So we've been working fast and furious to get funding in place and to actually manage the construction projects. And we're doing it in close partnership with Albany County and the State Historic Preservation Office.
So there's always, when you have a place, how old is the place now?
Well, the Shakers first came there in 1776. And they left in 1925. Our oldest building dates to 1822. So we lost all the 18th century buildings, unfortunately, back in the 1920s. But we have 9 wonderful historic resources still left. The crown jewel really is the 1848 Meeting House, which is where our headquarters is based, and that's where most of our programs and events. We have concerts, we have the craft fairs, workshops, all kinds of activities in that building that happen throughout the year.
Well, for people that are watching, if they've never been there or don't know about it, why don't you just give us the brief? What is unique about the Shaker Heritage site right here in Colonie that's only one of how many left in America?
There are 10 Shaker museums across the country, believe it or not. At the peak, the Shaker religious movement had about 6,000 members in around 18 or 19 communities, ranging from Maine to as far south as Florida and as far west as Ohio. So it was a pretty big movement. Yeah. It's a religion that was based in the United States. It really flourished in the United States, but it started in England. So, it's got a long and very complex history. The site in Albany is the mother community. It was the first place where the Shakers were able to realize their vision of having a communal religious society that emphasized pacifism and gender equality and racial equality. So, it's where they started. It's where their founder, Ann Lee, is buried. It's also where a spiritual revival known as the Era of Manifestation innovation started in the 1830s, and that led to all of the famous Shaker gift drawings, the Tree of Life. It also led to literally thousands of songs that they wrote in that time period, including Simple Gifts, which is the most recognizable Shaker tune. So there are a lot of reasons, at least in terms of Shaker history, that the site is really important. And Shaker, over time, really became associated with the term Americana. I mean, you think of Shaker apple pie, ladder back chairs, all of that are sort of icons of American history. So it's a very important site and had a tremendous influence on artists, especially early 20th century artists. Every kind of art, from dance to, visual arts, to music. Aaron Copland and others were heavily influenced by them. Architecture as well. So there are many reasons why it's important. And then you can also go into the technological and marketing innovations, because that is also where the garden seed industry started. So in 1790, the Shakers were the first to successfully establish a garden seed industry. So they standardized seed production and packaged them in little paper packets to sell to the outside world, just the way we get our seeds today. And the flat broom also was invented there. So it may be kind of a hidden jewel in Albany, but it's had a tremendous influence.
So all the Shaker settlements went out from the...
Pretty much,
Well, it was called the Watervliet site then, right?
Right. It's kind of confusing, because when the Shakers moved there in the 18th century, it was part of Niskayuna.
Okay.
Then it became part of the town of Watervliet. And for the majority of its time when Shakers lived there, it was called Watervliet. That's why that term is associated with it. But today it's in the town of Colonie, and our mailing address is Albany.
Okay. So for these preservation things that go on, I know on your website you take volunteers. If people watch and want to, can you need some volunteers?
We always need volunteers to help us in a wide variety of ways. Everything from, helping to run education programs, to manning the cash register, to helping with fundraising events. Be it a small task that you want to do, a small commitment or a big commitment, we need all kinds of help. Because we have the full-time equivalent of 3 staff who are serving about 17,000 visitors a year right now, managing the construction projects and doing all of the other things that we do. And plus a very active board of 18 board members who are all volunteers who contribute. One of our board members helps run our concert series. We really can't do what we do without that volunteer assistance.
And then the website will be on the screen here. It's with shakerheritage.org, and there's tons of information, which we'll get to when we get to the virtual. So one of your big events, this show will be on before or right around when it starts. You're having your annual Christmas Crafts Fair. It goes from October 27th to December 15th, Monday through Saturday, and it's free. And what are the hours?
It's open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
10 to 4.
Monday through Saturday, and we have probably
so it's almost 3 months of people can get Christmas gifts from. Well, tell us about how many people,
We have about 75 local and regional craft artisans, and we're very strict about having primarily handmade items in the show. So, every week they will be coming in and restocking their booths. So the inventory changes frequently throughout that time period that we have the show. And it's our main source of revenue for the society. So personally, I'm biased, of course, but I think it's a fabulous place to shop, because you are getting unique gifts that you can't find anywhere else, and you are supporting a local craft artisan as well as the preservation and education programs of the society. So you get a lot of bang for your buck by shopping at the Christmas craft fair.
Well, I have gone the last 2 years, and it is pretty unique. They have, what are some of the items people can buy? What you were saying, you have jewelry, ornaments, household goods. Can you give us a...
Yeah, it's a really diverse range of items. We have textile artists who, we spin their own wool and then create wonderful sweaters out of it. We have glass blowers. We have people who hand make pens and things like that. We have somebody who makes tile coasters that you can, put on your stove. It's just really a wide variety of items. Handmade baskets, Christmas ornaments. We also carry some items for Hanukkah. So it's really, we cram in a lot of diversity.
Is it all in one building or is it spread out?
It's all inside the 1848
Okay.
meeting house.
And I notice also, you just mentioned baskets. Don't you have a, I don't have the dates here.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have a basket making workshop. Tell us about that on either December 8th. Oh, I'm sorry. It's only on December 8th, well, noon. Just tell us a little about that.
Right.
What it is.
We have a number of craft workshops. The Shakers sustain themselves by making things and selling them to the outside world, so we continue that tradition. So we have kid craft workshops at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on November 17th, the 24th, and December 1st. And those are hour-long programs for children age 4 and up, and it's $5 per kid. And they can come in and make something. And then we also have a basket-making class with Sandy Salata on December 8th from 12 o'clock until 4 o'clock. And that's a serious basket-making class, but it's for beginners. So anybody could come and try their hand at basket-making, and that costs $35.
Now, is that done in like the shaker style, or is it?
Yeah, and I think, I'm not sure exactly what kind of basket they are going to make, but they will certainly be using shaker basket making techniques.
Oh, okay. Now, one thing you mentioned before we started here, what the concept, the shaker concept of gifts, what's that all about?
Well, for the Shakers, they believed that they could communicate with the spirit world, and they would receive gifts. Like I mentioned earlier, the era of manifestations that occurred at the site. Well, they would receive, they felt, gifts from the spirit world that would consist of things like songs, or a drawing, or...
I mean, they would be like taken over by the spirit, and they would...
It would be like an inspiration, that they received, and so they called that gifts.
Okay.
And so they may receive a gift and to create a special drawing or something that they would give to one of their sisters or the brother in the community. So they were not materialists. They were very practical, in that. In the 1920s, they drove luxury vehicles, because they were interested in quality, but they were not materialists. They were pragmatic in everything that they did. So, they wouldn't have had the same idea of gift giving that we have today. It was more rooted in spirituality for them. But as time went on, after the Civil War, they started to loosen up their ideas about how they should do things. So you do see them putting up Christmas trees and exchanging gifts later in their history. So we think the craft fair really kind of echoes that history of the Shakers.
Well, you have individual artists that obviously. Right,
and some of them do believe that they received spiritual inspiration for what they do in their day-to-day life, but the majority of them are just,
Now,
artisans.
do some of the crafters, are they going to be working while they're over there?
We don't have enough room to do that. We do, yeah. If you keep, we have a pretty active Facebook page, and if you check our Facebook page, we'll give you notice when we're having, say, a musician come in for the day or a book signing. Things like that happen throughout the course of the show. But other than the craft workshops that I mentioned before, unfortunately, we're limited on space. We are also going to be a drop-off point for the Unity House toy drive, and I think that's very important to let people know, because you don't have to truck over to Troy if you want to contribute to their toy drive. You can come right to the meeting house, and we will have a box there, so that you can make your donation there. And Unity House also has an active Facebook page, so you can check there for more information. They have family programs in addition to their toy drive. And the reason why we were interested in partnering partnering with them, there is a historical basis in that the Shakers were well known for their philanthropy and for helping out neighbors. So, for example, there was a major fire in Troy in the 19th century, and so they sent clothing and food and provisions over. So we feel like we're continuing that kind of tradition, and it's also convenient for the community to do that.
I'm just wondering, what would the Shakers have thought of Facebook, do you think?
They would have used it. They were great lovers of technology. And the Shakers today have a website.
Well, they were known as famous neighbors, weren't they, did you just say? They were always known for helping people?
Yeah, they would help people, but they also were known for being the first to get electricity or plumbing in their neighborhoods. I know the Mount Lebanon community in New Lebanon was the first to get electricity. So they were great believers in technology. Anytime it could save time and labor, they would jump on that.
So they probably would have been into the internet.
Probably.
Now, you mentioned, do you have any concerts coming up this fall or Christmas season?
No. I mean, we have the space limitations again, but we will have another coffee house concert series coming up in the spring.
Because I've been in that room many, many times, and is it known for its acoustics? I've never been there for a concert, but it seems like it would be.
Well, the meeting house was built for Shaker worship, which consisted of singing and dancing. And so I think the design of the building was quite intentionally planned to amplify the human voice. So the acoustics are fantastic.
Well, speaking of the music, why don't we talk now about, if you go to the website, there's a link, because the website's too long. It's called virtualgrounds.com/virtual Watervliet, but there's a link on the website. It'll be a lot easier just to click on that. So why don't you tell us about this virtual Watervliet? I already played around with it a little bit. It's very interesting. Not only is it a 3D thing with Google Earth, you can go around and look at the buildings from all different angles. There's a lot of history, and there's some examples of the music and everything. So tell us about this whole project. And you were just telling me before, you've been working for 4 years on this.
Yes, this is a major project, and it's quite extraordinary for a museum of our size to have this
with
complexity.
Only 3 people work there, you're telling me.
Yeah, and the reason why we were able to do it was years ago I had been providing some information to somebody on the faculty at the University of Cincinnati, and he was an architect who was doing virtual reconstructions of another Shaker site out in Ohio, and so I was just helping him out, and he decided to create this company, Virtual Grounds, and so he took on this project for us as a model to show other people, potential clients, what he's capable of completing.
Were you guys one of his first clients, or?
We are, and
okay.
He has donated well over $50,000 worth of service to this project, and we also obtained several grants from the New York State Council on the Arts, the Assemblyman Riley Salary Fund, and some other sources. The the New York Council for the Humanities also provided funding for it. And it just kept growing and growing. We started with wanting to do 3D models of the Shaker buildings so that people could see how the site changed over time.
I'm going to say it has both the original and what exists now. Is that how it?
Right. Our goal was, because at the same time that I was approached by Virtual Grounds about this project, we were trying to figure out how we can interpret the site. Because when Albany County bought the site in 1925, they tore down over 20 buildings. And at that time there was no preservation movement, there were no Shaker museums, and a lot of the buildings were decaying. So, we were trying to figure out how can we convey this to
what it was like in
the public, right? How can we show this to the public? I mean, we had lost so much that doing digital models seemed like a really good way to do it, because we can't physically do it on the landscape. So when you go to the Virtual Watervliet site, you can see how it changed in 4 different time periods. You can see a map that shows, what it looked like in 1795, what it looked like in the 1820s, and what it looks like today.
It shows it in 3D, kind of. Is that?
Right, and you can see it in 2D and in 3D. So the 3D 3D piece of it, you have to access through Google Earth. And when you go to Street View in Google Earth, you can literally fly through the site and through these 3D models. So it's super cool. I mean, it's really amazing. And we added on some education components to it as the project progressed, which is why it took 4 years, because we just kept adding on. But you can get information about each building that still stands. You can get, there are biographies of individual people, real people who lived at the site, who are associated with specific buildings or places on the ground, so you can get to know the people who lived there as well. And then we have then and now photos. So you can move a bar back and forth.
Yeah, I was doing that.
And see a view. Yeah, you see what it looked like historically and then see what it looks like today.
Okay, and I'll just tell people, because I tried it, you'll see a picture of, say, a street on the site with the buildings. I guess it's split down the middle, what it looked like in whatever, the 1800s, and what it looks like now, but you can move it back and forth, so it can either be completely how it looked in 18 whatever, or completely how it looks now, and it is pretty cool. But I guess I gotta say, you have to download Google Earth to get the 3D effect. But that's free and anyone can do it. Most people probably have Google Earth on their computer anyway.
Right, but we also provided 2D maps, and you can just see the images of the, two-dimensional images of the building models that are in Google Warehouse too, because we were mindful that not everybody would want to use that feature. And there's also a mobile tour. You can scan a QR code and get a tour on your cell phone as well. So we have some suggested tour routes. So it's an extremely rich source of information. Yes. We're really hoping that architects around the world can look at it and compare and contrast between what the Shaker buildings in this community look like as opposed to another Shaker community. We're hoping that teachers will have their students go and use it as a resource for local history projects that they might be working on. And we also see it as a way to promote increased awareness of the Albany Shaker site. It's unfortunate that we don't have a higher profile because, from a historical perspective, the site is extremely important. When we started uploading the models to Google Earth, we saw a 400% increase in hits to our website. Oh, wow. So, people are out there all around the world using this, which is very exciting for us.
Well, besides all these 3D images, maybe this is why it took a while, but did you write all the text? There's a lot of text here. Did you?
Yes.
Like, for example, under the, there's different sections. There's tours, settlement, buildings, photos, a couple other things. But for just example, under settlement, you have a section called history. Then each one of these has little subgroups. You have an overview, the first settlement. They have pictures and paintings and drawings of the Shaker dances, for example, or a prayer service. But there is a lot of text explaining all the stuff. And then I think there's a section called biographies. There's like profiles of 9 different people, including Ann Lee. Who are some of these people besides Ann Lee? Most people know her.
Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay. But there are 9 people there, but they're all,
We chose individuals who would reflect how the buildings or how that feature was used. And our education coordinator helped with that piece of it as well. But we wanted to provide as much information as possible, but it's done concisely. Yeah. And the way that we approached it, for me, having been trained as a curator, this was a lot like putting together an exhibition because it's not too text heavy, it's concise, but we have a lot of great photographs in that. So it's a wonderful resource for learning about the site.
It has things like their way of life, the first settlement, which Star already said it. Our site here in Colonie was the first one. There's a thing on the Shaker legacy, which lasts into today. Then there's a whole big thing on each building if you just want to read about each building individually. This is over and above if you want to take the tour. What else was on? Oh, there's a really nice thing on the Shaker music with there's excerpts from 9 different songs, which, why don't you tell, it was recorded right over there.
Yeah, this was another project that was happening as we were working on Virtual Watervliet that we decided to fold into Virtual Watervliet. We had decided to use music in our interpretation of the site. So I had a colleague of mine named Christian Goodwillie, who works at Hamilton College, transcribe original Shaker music. Shakers used a different form of notation than we use today for music. So he transcribed the music into modern notation, and then Albany Pro Musica recorded the music for us. And so you can get a sense of what Shaker music sounded like by listening to that. Although I have to say the songs that were selected are somewhat somber, but it does give you a really good sense of what it was like, and the kind of music that specifically would have been sung in the meeting house.
In the meeting house. Well, there's like 9 little excerpts. I'll just do a couple. There's one called the Welcome Hymn for Holy Mother Wisdom, the Good Believer's Prayer, Mother Ann's Funeral Song. That's kind of somber.
Yeah.
The Happy Anticipation, The Precious Way of God. So they're very beautiful, and Albany Pro Musica, I think they made a CD of this. Can people buy that CD if they want?
Not yet,
Not yet, okay.
But we have a strong relationship with Albany Pro Musica. They do concerts every year in the meeting house, which are unbelievable.
And it was, like I say, it was recorded right over in...
Right. It was recorded in the meeting house.
It does say that these songs were these songs that were known? It says songs that were found in the manuscripts at Hamilton. Were they?
Right. These were songs that were found in the manuscripts at Hamilton
okay.
College.
So they weren't known songs?
Some of these had not been performed in decades and decades.
Okay.
So
it was recently unearthed. Oh, that is pretty interesting. Well, there are great excerpts and very beautiful music. Although you're right, it is kind of somber, but in some of the meetings, there was a little more dancing around.
Yeah,
more joyful than some.
A lot of, and I would like to add to this in the future. A lot of their music actually were like dance jigs, and they actually incorporated a lot of popular tunes and then just changed the words to them. So a lot of their music actually was really fast and upbeat and happy. And it's funny because people have this idea of Shakers, having this contemplative, quiet worship. It wasn't. It was loud and rowdy worship. Well, they would stomp and clap and sing loudly, and in fact, their neighbors were complaining all the time about how loud they were. So this was pretty vibrant kind of worship.
Well, I think on one of the documentaries, the one you guys produced and the Ken Burn ones, I watched both of them. I think there were some drawings or paintings when they were at a service. Was pretty. They weren't just sitting there, kind of.
No, it was rowdy.
Well, then, so that's the 3D tour. It's a great thing. I was already on it. It's very interesting and a lot of history. You can find out all kinds of stuff. Now, finally, your meeting house, if you've ever been in there, is a beautiful room that can be used for many things. You actually rent this out for if people want to have a wedding or a party or some kind of tell us about that.
Well, we use the meeting house for a lot of our own events and the concerts and that, but we do rent it out for a wide variety of events, weddings, that kind of thing. And we also rent the 1916 barn, which actually is really a hot spot for weddings because barns are in right now. So the 2 buildings are available, and then also the grounds. The grounds are beautiful, and even if you're not interested in Shaker history, I think people should drive through the grounds because it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful place to go for picnic, and to have a wedding on the grounds there are ample opportunities for photos. In our herb garden, we have a beautiful footbridge that crosses Shaker Creek. I consider it a rural oasis. We're a few hundred feet from the airport, yet we have a lot of wildlife. It's beautiful. We're right adjacent to the Ann Lee Wildlife Preserve. So it's a really beautiful parcel.
Well, it does. When I was over there this summer at the Crafts Fair, it does seem like you are a little you're away from everything, even though it is in the middle of the,
Yeah.
probably right in the middle of the capital district practically, wouldn't you? I mean,
It is,
the whole-
and I think it is a natural gateway to the region as well. So that's why I think our effort in partnership with the county to revitalize the site is so important, because I think it's an asset for the community. I hope that local residents will come and enjoy it. Assemblyman Riley keeps his oxen there and his chickens and turkeys, so it's
Oh,
a
that's
wonderful
right.
place to bring children. They should be going back to their winter farm soon, but in the summer it's a great place to see the farm animals, and there's a lot there to offer. But we also hope that it's something that the community can really be proud of.
Okay, well, thank you. That is a lot. There's a lot going on over there. Like I said in the beginning, it's shakerheritage.org. There's all kinds of information, other things we've been talking about, and there's a link there for the virtual tour, and also there's tons of history, biography, there's music excerpts, and I guess the big thing is October 27th through December 15th, Monday through Saturday, and it's free to get in. There's over 50 crafters there for the Christmas Crafts Fair. So Star, thanks for coming back over and telling us about what's going on over at the Shaker Settlement.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, that's it for Getting to Know You, and we'll see you next time.